Welcome to the Get Fit with Jodelle podcast. I am me all by myself today. I was supposed to have an interview with a doctor who I'll try to get on again, but he wasn't able to make it. So I'm just doing a podcast, and I wanted to talk to you guys specifically out there that are the computer gurus, the computer nuts, or people that are always working on their devices, on their computers. We're kind of a computer nation, which makes us an indoor nation because it's kind of hard to be on your computer outside. And I wanted to specifically talk to all of you out there who are, probably watching this on some sort of a device right now, and you tend to do that quite frequently. How can we do this safely? How can we be on our devices and take care of our health as mito-hackers, as you've heard me say before, to where we're not affecting our mitochondria too negatively, but we're doing things to also mitigate the times when we do have to be on our devices or we do have to work and be on computers and things like that. So this podcast is for those of you who are wanting to continue doing your device work, but also want to improve your health, and you want to not mess up your circadian rhythm any more than it already is. So I'm going to take you through just my quick little list of things that I have come up with and other people have researched and developed and come up with that really helps to keep that circadian rhythm in check, keep your health in check, keep your mitochondria strong, but also keep you, functioning as an online aficionado doing things in the interwebs, if you will. So as you'll see, I'm wearing my blue blockers. That's going to be my number one mito-hack tip for you. And as you know, I wear them on most all podcasts that you'll see me doing, even if it's, morning time or evening time. If I'm on my device, I typically will have these on. There are times when I sit outside when I'm on my laptop, but that's only on, days when I can actually see my screen, because we'll talk about another device I have on my screen that also helps mitigate some of that blue light. So it makes it hard to see. So sometimes when I'm outside, I want to get that natural sunlight in my eyes anyway. And that's kind of like a double whammy, if you will. Like you're getting the radiation, the blue light from your computer, but at the same time, you're getting the good radiation from the sun. So you're kind of doing yourself a service while you're doing yourself a disservice, basically. But those kind of things are how we keep going, how we keep living this, modernized life that we seemingly, no matter how hard we try, we can't quite get away from as much as I would like to, as much as I'd like to just live out in the woods and not have to live on any sort of technology. Sadly, my family would all disown me if I did that. So because they're all, modernly technologically advanced, more so than even I am. So I have to keep up with my family. I have to keep up with my business. And I'm sure you do too. So blue blockers help me do this. They block the blue light. Blue light, as we know, depletes things like dopamine, serotonin, melatonin, and it dehydrates you. So another little tip is always, have your water nearby that you can sip on as you're chronically getting dehydrated. Blue light is not just light, it's also radiation. It's a form of radiation that can dehydrate you at a cellular level. And if we are dehydrated, our cells just simply won't work as efficiently. If we are dehydrated, our mitochondria just simply can't function as optimally as possible. So we definitely want to stay hydrated with that. Now, going back to the blue blockers, we're blocking that blue light, but we're not blocking the radiation. So we will talk about some other things to mitigate some of the radiation that comes from the computer, the microphone, the little hotspot I use to make these podcasts with my phone. So a lot of radiation is coming at me right now. Not to mention just the typical things that are plugged in your home. You've heard me talk about just how electronics like a lamp or a refrigerator, if I test them with my tri-field meter, it will say how much radiation they're giving off. So we're constantly bombarded with this. And if you have a Wi-Fi signal in your house, then you're constantly bombarded with that too. So it's something to think about, this mitigation for our mitochondria's sake and becoming that mito-hacker, which is what we're talking about today. So I wanted to give you my code too, which I'll post it here. And that is Get Fit. If you go to Swanwick Sleep and you want to check out the glasses, just type in Get Fit, and that saves you 10%. I'm all about giving you something in the midst of you having to spend money in order to help yourself. So that's my little you're welcome for you, is to give you these little promo codes I come across. Full clothing indoors. Now it's the bright that I've got a nice window open here, so I'm trying to get some good light on my skin right now. But like I've mentioned before, I typically will wear scarves that can cover me to some extent when I'm on the computer, cover my neck, cover my thyroid and stuff like that. In fact, looking at this, I got to pull this back a little bit more. So it's actually covering my thyroid gland. Why do I want to cover my thyroid gland? Those of you that have watched my podcast before, you've heard me talk about how the light that's emitted from our computers and our devices, our skin has receptors to tell our body, oh, there's a lot of blue light now. This is an environment that is messing with my circadian rhythm. So what you might not know about that aspect is that all of the organs of our body have body clocks. Okay, just to give you a little synopsis on science, when you get light in your eyes, whether it's artificial or outside, it tells your brain, depending on the brightness of it, and most likely if it's computer light or sunlight, it's very bright, so it tells the brain, this is day, this is day, this is day. And the skin receptors kind of work the same way. They detect this is day, this is day. And a lot of the repair processes for the organs happen at night. So in order for your body to do its best repair, we need to have adequate rest, adequate sleep. But if our circadian rhythm is messed up because we're getting so much light during a time of day when we can't, it's not really the time of day we need light, like let's say 9 p.m. at night when it should be dark and you're staring at a device. And where is it mainly shining is right there on your neck and your face. So it's telling the skin receptors, this is day. I can't repair the thyroid right now. I thought we were going into, wind down mode to do some repair tonight, but apparently we're not. So it must be noon. So I need to go back to just functioning as high and efficiently as possible. So it confuses the body clocks. Every organ has one of those body clocks. So for example, your liver does its best repair between 1 and 3 a.m. Okay. And if you're not sleeping at that time, chances are you're not getting that repair. You might be getting rest, like let's say you go to bed at 1 a.m. Or you go to bed at 2 a.m., but you miss some of that critical time of really deep REM sleep to get your body into repair. Because if we miss out on that, really deep sleep, but we're just kind of sleeping, we're not getting the rest and repair that we need. So that's that deep REM sleep. So therein lies the fact why when you're on a computer, if it's not like the bright morning time of day like it is here, you might want to consider covering yourself up completely. Like sometimes you'll see on my videos, I have long sleeves or, turtlenecks on and things like that. That way my skin isn't so confused, and I'll actually wear foundation when I'm on my computer, but when I go outside, I don't want to wear it. So I'll either take it off or kind of plan my day to where I can not be on my computer until I have to put some makeup on to put it on. So isn't that funny? Like I put makeup on to be on the computer, not just to do a podcast, like just to check my email. And then I'll take it off when I want to go outside. But as silly as it sounds, these are little strategies that are helping me enhance my health more so than ever before. And for those of you that have been watching, I've had some health implications due to toxic mold. And those are all being mitigated. Like good things are finally happening after 6 months of turmoil. So just know that these little tiny nuances that you might think, how is blue blockers going to help me? How is covering my neck with a scarf when I'm on my computer going to help me? You'd be surprised. Take your blood work maybe a month before you start implementing these things, and take it a month after and see what happens. So sunscreen indoors, like I mentioned, wear your foundation, wear your sunscreen indoors, but avoidance of it outdoors. That's the number 3 mito-hack. So when you are outside, whether it's going for a walk or whether it's just playing with your kids or whether it's just being at the beach regularly, whatever it is, try to avoid sunglasses and try to avoid sunscreen unless you're going to be out there for a very, long length of time, such as like 5-6 hours or something like that. Or for very fair skinned people, maybe it's 2 or 3 hours. Then of course, get that original exposure of maybe 10, 20, 30 minutes, something like that, whatever your skin can tolerate. And then after that, you can put your sunscreen on or cover up or go back inside. But try to get as much of outdoor exposure as you can with light on your skin from the natural sun, not light on your skin from devices. And if you work a job where you have to be on a device from, let's say 9 in the morning till 5 at night, you are allowed breaks at work. So try to go outside and get real light. And when you're inside, wear those blue blockers to block the artificial light. I am of the mindset that our brains are cognitive enough to know the difference, to understand that while this is telling me it's noon right now, I'm getting a lot of damage on a cellular level from this light. So this must be the artificial light she's always in front of. Versus when we're outside and we're making cholesterol in our skin from the sun, we're making vitamin D, we're telling our skin receptors that are geared for UVA rays that the right kind of rays are coming in to repair damage and to set up metabolic processes and things like that. I think your brain knows the difference. I think we don't give it as much credit as we should when it comes to the difference between natural light and artificial light. So be as far away from your computer as possible. That's number 4. And what I mean is, like, you know, if you have, like, I have to use a microphone, so I have to be fairly close to it. But if you are at an office job and you have maybe a sit to stand desk or something like that, see if you can stand back far enough to just reach to your keyboard with your arms reaching long, or maybe resting lightly with just your forearms on the edges and typing. See how far you can get away, because every little inch you can back up away from your computer, or however you can get your monitor farther away from you, the better off your health will be. So, you know, just push your little finger, push that monitor forward right now and get it another little half inch away from you. It'll help. It's the same for children too. We have a lot of kids nowadays that work on computers at schools and at home, and they really get a lot of pleasure out of that. I know, for instance, I take my daughter to the library, and there's this one little computer that has toddler games on it, and she loves it. But when she's on it, I push it as far back away from the monitor is huge, and I push it far back away from her as possible. So she gets to use the keyboard and the mouse, but she's not being so much exposed to the monitor. So just think about getting as far away as possible from that computer. And if you are, you know, an avid podcaster or something like that, obviously you have to stay close to the microphone, but you also could invest in some sort of a headpiece or things like that. I don't do the headpieces just because I haven't found a podcasting headpiece yet that doesn't emit radiation. So I just kind of stick with this big blue Yeti and just stay as close to it, but as far as it that I can get away with. So speaking of radiation with headsets, my number 5 mito-hack would be to get an anti-radiation earbud system. So there's a lot of companies out there that make anti-radiation earbud headsets. I am going to call out one company right now that I'm kind of disappointed in, just because I don't want you to go out and buy this headset, okay? Dr. Mercola, not that there's anything wrong with him, but his headset is an anti-radiation headset called the Blue Air Tube or something like that. I purchased that, and within 2 days it broke. So just FYI, don't buy that one. Now there are some other really good brands. They're a little harder to come by. There's a brand called Kindon, and they actually make wireless too. So you could have Bluetooth. And while the Bluetooth is still going to have a little tiny bit of radiation, the ear tube itself is what they call an air tube. So it mitigates a lot of the radiation from it. So it's a better choice if you do have to use a Bluetooth device, such as when you're working out, you don't want like earbuds hanging down on you, or you don't want to carry your cell phone on you. You want it kind of away from you, but you want to be able to listen to, you know, my podcast or something, or someone else's podcast to continue just the things that you love to do, but you're able to do it in a much more healthier way. So there's another brand, Cosgo, I think is a good one. That's Cosgo. And though just finding an anti-radiation headset that, whether it's wireless or not, can actually do a lot more benefit for you, for those that listen to earbuds quite frequently. Or, you know, maybe you've become that mito-hacker that talks on your phone, but you try not to hold it up to your head. So you want to get those anti-radiation earbuds to put into the phone so that you don't have to put it up to your head. I showed you on one of my previous podcasts about a handheld, you know, 1990 called, and they want their handset back. So it's kind of like you're holding one of the old phone handsets, and those are actually anti-radiation too, and you can plug those into your phone. I think it's called a Coco phone, COCO. So that's something to think about. Anti-radiation gloves. Now we're kind of getting, you know, way down the line here for like Mito-hacks. So they actually make gloves and they make scarves and things like that with shielding fabric, so that not only are you blocking the blue light, but you're actually blocking the radiation. You can even get shirts now that are actually, they're coined as like maternity shirts for women that don't want radiation to their unborn baby. Anyone can wear them, and it blocks the radiation from all your devices. So now we're getting a little more technical, and this isn't going to apply to everybody, because a lot of people are going to go, I'm not spending $90 on a pair of shielding gloves or a shielding shirt or whatever. But this is just what I'm trying to get at, is I'm giving you all these tips that I'm coming down the line with here, so that you can make your own informed decision about what are the best options that you can stick with and that you can afford and that you can, make part of your daily habit. I can do these, but I'm not going to do these, kind of thing. Like, how much are you wanting to invest in your health? So I'm talking right now for this tip specifically to the individual that might find themselves on their computer 90% of their day. So you don't really want to be, but maybe your job requires you to be on your computer 90% of your day, which is huge, but you can do a lot to mitigate the damage that's happening, such as going outside and getting grounded as much as possible. But also they make shielding gloves to where when you're typing, you're blocking the radiation from your hands that's coming in frequently. So, for the average computer user or handheld device user, probably not necessary, but for those of you that are really computer gurus and are always having your hands on these devices, it might be a good tip to look for some anti-radiation gloves. Okay. 5 minutes outdoor for every hour you're indoors. Okay. So, and that means on computers. So for those of you working an office job, for every hour that you're sitting at your workstation doing what it is that you do, take action to be outside 5 minutes for every hour. So let's say you get a 15 to 20 minute break at 10 or 11 in the morning. That's great, because generally you started at like 8 o'clock, and by the time you got to 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, it's been 2 or 3 hours, which works out to be about 10 or 15 minutes to spend outside on your break. Take your shoes off, even your fancy little office high heels, and put your feet on the earth and just let yourself be for a moment, not with your phone in your hand, checking all your text messages. Just get away from device and technology for about 5 to 10 minutes, or at least 5 minutes for every hour, and see how you feel. Now, are you going to feel something instantaneously if you've never done this before? No. You're probably going to go, well, the grass felt kind of nice on my feet, but I don't really get what I'm doing. Like, what is this doing? Well, grounding is actually really powerful for giving us free electrons from the earth. We are essentially electric beings, okay? We have an electric pulse within us, and so does the earth. The earth vibrates at about, I think it's 7.83 hertz. And we can match up to that and mitigate some of the damage that's being done. We're not just ingesting food that's protein, carbs, and fat. We're electrons, we're neutrons, we're protons. And we've got all this electric activity going on through the mitochondria and through the water in our body, since, we're 50 to 65% water. And if anyone knows, if you drop a toaster in a bathtub that's plugged in, which I don't know why people have toast in the bathroom, but whatever, then chances are you're going to get electrocuted. That's the power of electric beings and water conductivity. And that's the power of the earth as well. It is a vibration, and so are we. This isn't hocus pocus or, woo stuff. This is science. So you can look up, there's actually quite a bit of studies on grounding. You can go to PubMed and type in the word grounding and see for yourself, or earthing, see for yourself what's out there. It's actually pretty powerful. So again, 5 minutes for every hour, which goes into my next tip, grounding. So as much as you can, take off your shoes and go stand on grass, go stand on gravel if it doesn't hurt your feet. Even concrete, if there is no grass in your area, go stand on concrete. Avoid asphalt, because you can't really ground through asphalt, but you can do some through concrete. So those kind of little strategies throughout your day of connecting to the earth, connecting to some sort of natural element, grounding yourself by hugging a tree when you're out in the park or something. All of this can undo some of the damage that's been done by us being on our smartphones and our tablets and our computers and watching Netflix and chilling, okay? You can undo that. We have become this indoor nation that needs to remember that outdoors is very healing. And how do you remember that? How do you feel when you stand by an ocean? How do you feel when you're in a big, huge pine forest and the smell is unbelievable? How do you feel when you've spent a day at the lake with your friends and with your family? It's not just the camaraderie you're feeling. It's actually the benefits of nature, okay? Vitamin N, nature, and vitamin G, grounding, or earthing, vitamin E. So connecting to the earth, even something as simple as spending a couple times each week going to your local waterway, maybe a lake, a river, a pond, an ocean, and putting your feet at the water's edge for 10 or 15 minutes. That can mitigate so much damage that's been done. And you might not feel it, like I said, on a day-to-day basis, but the results will add up. And what's funny is over time, you will want more of the same. So even if you're not an outdoorsy person right now, and life, industrialized, modernized life has made you this like, oh, I don't go outside because there's like bugs and I might get stinky or I might sweat or something. Okay, you will start to enjoy it. Most people have found that when they actually take the time to find a way to enjoy the outdoors, such as maybe you're just going to start paddleboarding, you will start to crave it. You're going to start to think, okay, when's the next time I can go do this? Because this is amazing. And it has to do with we are actually outside beings. We were made for the outdoors. We were made to be in nature. But we forget that with modernized technology and air conditioning. You know, we always seem to stay at this constant 70 degrees, whether it's at work or at home or in our car. Like we keep everything this perfect temperature, yet we're sicker than we ever have been. So we need the temperature variations. We need to get outside and get a little sweaty, passive sweating by just sitting in the sun. It's like nature's sauna. Sit in the sun, sweat a little bit, get some toxins out, and then get a little cold. Go out in the winter when it's freezing cold and your lips, you know, don't work very well because you're trying to talk or your lips are frozen. Okay, go outside and have that happen so your body gets various changes. That's how it adapts. That's how you get better in the cold and you're not cold all the time. That's how you get better in the heat and you can actually work outside when it's hot out. The more you stay completely one temperature, your body adapts to that. And thereby you don't do well in other environments. So we need a little adaptation now and then. And going outside and getting in those temperature fluctuations can be really powerful. You know, right now is a great time of year. It's May where I am, right this time of year, depending on when you're watching this. But it's really nice and cool in the morning, and then it gets really warm, like 80 degrees during the day, and then it cools back down. It's really great to go out during those times. Go out in the early morning, get the early morning sunlight, let your body feel the coolness, and then go out in the heat of the day, let your body feel the heat and sweat a little bit, and then go out in the evening when the sun's going down, let that sunrise filter in your eyes and tell your body, oh, it's time to wind down, and feel the coolness, the cool evening breeze. All of that is what we used to do before we had air conditioning. Because if you think about it, everybody kind of sat on their front porches for entertainment back before we had too much television and too much air conditioning. So they watched the day go by. They talked to their neighbors. They were outside a lot. They were conversing with the people that live down the road, having neighborhood block parties. How many times do we have neighborhood block parties? I don't even hardly know my neighbors because any effort I've tried to make, they don't pay attention. So it's like they just shut their door. Don't come in. I don't want to talk to you. So we need to get back to being outside and getting to know each other outside and getting to know nature and exploring your local territories. What hikes are available? What beautiful scenic overlooks can you go check out with your family? Rather than what movie are we going to watch tonight? What movie are we going to watch tonight? What episodes on Netflix are we going to watch tonight? What about nature? Okay. So I'll move on from there, but grounding, nature, earthing, all of that, we need all of that to mitigate some of this damage from devices. Magnesium. So talking about my next tip is supplemental, taking a form of magnesium called magnesium glycinate. I also like magnesium threonate. Those are really powerful helpers to the mitochondria. So when the mitochondria is suffering from all this damage that we're doing on devices, we can mitigate some of that with magnesium. And yeah, you can eat magnesium-rich foods, but unfortunately, due to our modernized society, we don't have the levels of magnesium that we once did in our food. So if you can cultivate some really great soil, if you're a gardener and you make it this nitrogen-rich soil, and maybe you can cultivate some more good mineral-rich soil for your garden to grow nice vegetables, then you're probably doing okay. But for the majority of the population that go out and buy their vegetables, you're going to want to do some supplementation. So magnesium deficiency in the mitochondria can show up as muscle fatigue and cramping, restless leg at night, insomnia, trouble going to the bathroom, chocolate cravings. So that can all show up as, these simple little symptoms that are actually your mitochondria screaming for magnesium. So a nice dose to start with for most individuals is about 400 milligrams, preferably at your most anxious time of day, because it does help with anxiety. It's your calming mineral, but also more towards bedtime if you have trouble sleeping, or if you just need to wind down better at night. So developing a nighttime routine of blue blockers, turning down the lights in the house, taking my magnesium, that's a really great way to prepare for a really great night's sleep. And in order to help your mitochondria, you need to be sleeping well, like I mentioned before, for that rest and repair, okay? So water we kind of talked about, but I wanted to touch on something called unintentional chronic dehydration. That's for those of you that are like, oh, I meant to drink my water today, but I forgot, and I only drank like one bottle, and I got to get better at my water. See, it's unintentional. You didn't mean to, and that's okay. But you need to start developing some sort of a habit that will make it to where water becomes more of a priority, especially if you are working on devices, because like I mentioned, we're getting dehydrated more so than ever before. So if you just did a typical day where you're just, cleaning the house, you're outside, you're gardening, you're not on a device very much, you're probably not going to actually be as dehydrated unless you were doing a lot of sweating outside. But just sitting at a computer and not moving around much, all of the radiation that comes into us is even more damaging than all of the, like little happenstances that we do all day long apart from devices. So this actually does more damage to our cells and dehydrates us more than your typical day of not being on a device. Even though you might not be moving around as much, but it's sucking the life out of you basically. So we need to make sure that we're drinking half our body weight in ounces each day. And for those of you that are super active outside of your computer life, you even need more than that. Or if you do sweat a lot, like in a sauna or outside, you need more than that. But bear in mind that you don't want to also, along with chronic dehydration, you don't want to get depleted of minerals. So it is a smart move to, throughout the day, maybe have some sea salt that you pop on your tongue and then you drink water, just to replenish the cellular energy of sodium, potassium, magnesium, things like that, all of the good 82 minerals that are in sea salt. So that's a nicer strategy than like the 2:00 afternoon lull where you're like, oh, I gotta have a coffee. Try sea salt instead. Just pop some sea salt in your mouth while you're sitting at your desk, or go outside, get some fresh air, pop some sea salt, drink some water, put your feet on the earth and try to recharge that way. Okay. Going back to like the grounding and the earthing, I kind of think of it as, you maybe have heard me say this before, but I kind of think of it as when you unplug your computer and you turn it off and you reboot the whole thing because it's not running efficiently, and you give it like 30 seconds and then you turn it back on and suddenly it works just fine. Okay, that's kind of how you're going to figure out what grounding is doing for you. Is you're not going to feel it right away, but as soon as you come back in to do your work, you're a little bit mentally sharper, you're a little bit more relaxed. And it might not be extremely noticeable, like you went from a 10 on stress and anxiety down to a 1. Maybe you're down to like a 7 and you're like, I feel better. I can function the rest of the day. So that's a little snippet I wanted to throw in there. Okay, so iodine. Iodine is another something I wanted to talk about as far as supplementing go. Now, you want to be really careful supplementing iodine. In fact, I don't actually recommend you taking iodine pills or drops or anything like that, because we don't want to throw off the balance of the thyroid. However, you can consume foods that contain iodine and kind of keep that as part of your daily regimen, such as, seaweed. Seaweed, they make little roasted seaweed chips that you can take with you and have as a snack. Or iodine is actually rich in egg yolks, so doing your eggs for breakfast. Carrots have good iodine in them, and meat sources, especially seafood, has wonderful amounts of iodine. So again, if you're on kind of a VLP, what I call a very low plant or a full carnivory diet, then focus on that seafood too. Don't just focus on the meat, just the red meat, add in some seafood here and there too. You might get small amounts of iodine from red meat, but to really amp up your iodine needs to mitigate against the damage of radiation, you want to get a good amount of seafood in there. So think crab legs, shrimp, stuff like that. Iodine does help filter out some of the damage that's being done and helps your thyroid function optimally amidst all of the damage. Okay. CoQ10 is another just a supplement you might want to think about. Now, those of you eating a carnivorous diet, good for you. You are getting a good dose of CoQ10 from that meat. So don't forget about that. But if it's not to the point where your energy is completely back or you're still kind of struggling to feel really optimal, then think about supplementing with about 100 milligrams of CoQ10. Also, for those individuals that have high cholesterol and they don't want to be on a statin, CoQ10 is wonderful to regulate your cholesterol. CoQ10 is also really wonderful for those of you who travel for work and are on, now you're getting exposed to radiation with airplanes and with cars and being in traffic all the time and airports that are full of radiation because everybody's on their device and everybody's on the airport Wi-Fi and things like that. Then you're inside a tin can of an airplane where everybody's on their device and they're all right around you. So talk about immense radiation. No wonder we get so much more jet lag that's actually not just from changing time zones. It's from all of the damage being done from the radiation of flying. Because it's essentially all those Wi-Fi signals just bouncing off the tin can coming right back into you. So CoQ10, whenever I travel, I take a amped up dosage of CoQ10 and I do actually feel the benefits. In fact, when I take the CoQ10 on these trips, I don't get jet lag no matter how far I've gone. I can go to Hawaii and I don't get jet lag. If I don't, though, because there was a time recently I came back from Hawaii and I didn't take the CoQ10, I did have jet lag. So therein lies how much our mitochondria suffers when we're dealing with stuff like that. Now, on another note, with regard to jet lag, is finding a place to ground as soon as possible when you get to your destination. That's another little hack. So to deal with this issue of mitochondrial damage that happens from all the radiation, as soon as you get to your destination, I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night and you're at a hotel that only has like a grass pee pad for all the pets that come to the hotel, find the cleanest spot and stand on that and get some relief from the day. Like try to find that connection to the earth or find like a really quiet space that's away from too many cell phone towers and things in the big city where you're traveling to. That's just this little concrete pad where you can go sit quietly and just kind of ground to the earth. Another thing with traveling, since we're on that subject, look ahead of time where your hotel is when you're traveling and notice if you can find out by using antennasearch.com if there is cell phone towers on top of that hotel. I have seen more and more of these cell phone tower blocks around hotels. And before I travel, I want to know what's around me so that I'm not getting sucked into a hotel that, I got a really good rate on, but I'm right next to the most gigantic cell phone tower in the entire town and I don't sleep then. Okay. Or maybe the top of the hotel is ringed with cell phone tower boxes and you're not going to sleep if you're in that hotel. I'm sorry. The radiation that building is emitting is just going to keep you up all night. And that's not a really great thing if you've got work to do in different cities. So that's something to think about is you can use antennasearch.com and find the safest hotel with the best deal, to help you in your travels. So just like if you found the address of a place, maybe on Airbnb that you're going to travel to or the hotel, just put that in Antenna Search and let it show you, oh, this looks good. There's only cell phone towers way over here, but none here, which sadly isn't so much the case anymore. If you actually go on that website and start looking around, we're just saturated with cell phone towers. But do the best you can to find the one that's the farthest away. I learned the hard way by going to Charleston one time, and there was this great hotel that I stayed at, and right next to it was a gigantic cell phone tower with a radio tower too, because there was a radio station right next door to the hotel. Needless to say, I didn't sleep there. Okay, so and that was even before I knew a lot about the damages of cell phone towers. And so looking back, I kind of understand why I had such a hard time sleeping then. Breathing fresh air, we've kind of touched on. That's my next Mito-hack. So as much as you can, when you're working on your computer, with that 5 minutes every hour, go out and breathe fresh air. There's some really good breathing techniques that I kind of heard about and have done myself called 4-4-6-2. So you inhale for 4 counts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you hold it for 4 counts. And then you exhale for 6 counts all the way out, counting to 6. And then you hold that for 2 counts. And then you come back and do it again, 4-4-6-2. And it's kind of this boxed breathing, but it actually calms down your nervous system. It reminds you to breathe. So try that 4-4-6-2. That's a nice little mito trick for your mitochondria, because what it's doing is it's actually providing oxygen into the cells too. Sometimes when we're stressed and we're sitting at our cubicle or our desk or just working on a project, we tend to become really shallow breathers. So by just going outside, taking a breath moment, that can really help you to reset all of that. With regard to that, there are some apps for your computer. I work on a Mac, so I don't know technically about what's available for PC, but for those of you on a Mac, you can get something called, now I can't remember the name of it, but I have it on my computer. Anyway, you can look, I think it's called Time Out, and it's an app you can get that you set ahead of time. Maybe every hour or every 20 minutes, you put a little reminder. And what it does is it turns your screen this fun color that you choose, and this little guy pops up, and really nicely, he's sitting and he's quiet and he's peaceful, and it just reminds you that it's time for your timeout. You need to go outside, you need to get away from your computer, and then you can come back. So I believe it's called timeout, but you'll have to double check that. But look for something that can remind you, because a lot of times we'll say, oh yeah, that's a good tip. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna every hour, I'm gonna get up and go outside. But then what happens, right? So try to set a reminder on your phone or something. Don't take your phone with you when you go outside, but set a reminder, let the little dinger go off, and then go outside and take some fresh air, take your shoes off, get some sunlight in your eyes, things like that. Also, to talk about, like I mentioned before, I wanted to mention the filter that I use on my computer. And I'm sure many people have heard of F-Lux, but this is not called F-Lux. The one I have is called Iris Tech. So Iris Tech is kind of a new development. I'm actually going to be interviewing the founder of Iris Tech, because I want you guys to hear how passionate he is about this program he's created. And you can try it out too for free. He's got just like a basic model you can try out if you just Google Iris Tech and check it out. But it's really cool. It's got all these unique settings that you can do, what's even called the biohacker setting, where everything turns black and there absolutely is no blue light, but you can still see all your letters when you're typing and things like that. And then you can have the sunglasses setting to where if you are outside, sitting at a cafe and you're using your computer and you're wearing blue blockers or something, you want to be able to see your screen, it helps with that. So there's all these like light and dark settings to help you in the environment that you're in. So that's called Iris Tech. And stay tuned, because I'm going to be interviewing that founder of that. Okay, and then brain fats. We can't forget to talk about food when it comes to mitochondria, because while it isn't everything, it is important. So those of you doing more of that carnivorous approach or a higher fat approach, good for you. We need to keep that up. Focusing on brain fats are things like butyric acid from butter and saturated animal fats. Those are the things that are going to help your brain function more optimally, and the mitochondria of your brain function more optimally for you to do your work. Okay, so think in terms of how you can implement that throughout your day if you're not already doing that. Choline is another nutrient we haven't really talked about. That's also in meat and egg yolks. So again, getting those in is really important to the health of the mitochondria, as well as the health of the brain when you're really doing a lot of damage to the brain on these devices. Radiation isn't just affecting your thyroid and things like that. It's also affecting through the eyes. It can affect your brain. So just another nutrient to think about is choline. Sleep, we've kind of touched on a little bit, but just to touch on it once more, is it's not about just getting the 8 hours. It's not about going to bed at midnight and waking up at 8 and going, I'm good, I got 8 hours. We really need to get the repair, not just the rest. And that happens when we follow what I was talking about earlier, those body clocks. So getting to bed at a proper time when the body is ready to wind down. And that's usually 9 to 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Those are your hours of power. That's when your body does the most deep REM sleep and can do the most repair. Sometimes if you wait too long and you miss your window of opportunity for a REM sleep, you will actually not get into a deep sleep. And that's typically that individual that they finally go to bed after Netflix and chill at 1 or 2 in the morning. And then they doze off and they go to sleep, but they might not sleep really deeply. They might wake up groggy and feel like, wow, I slept, but I don't feel like I slept. Okay. That's what you're missing, is that REM sleep. And that's the repair part of sleep. So we really need to hone in on that and get that repair under control too. And then turn off your devices when they're not needed. Finally, last little mito hack here, and then I'm done, is when you don't need to be on your cell phone, turn it on airplane mode or turn it off. It's just one less bit of radiation that's near you. When you don't have to be on your computer, turn it off. I think we've got out of this mindset, especially in offices and with our cell phones, that the computers just can stay on all the live long day. But not only is it wasting electricity, but it's also wasting you, okay? So as the more the radiation is around, even if you're not in the room, but it's still emitting this, it's emitting electricity, it's emitting radiation, just turn it off. And the more you're on your phone, or it's on you and you're not using it, it's just wasted radiation that you don't need. So tell the people that you love, if I don't get right back to you, sometimes I turn my phone on airplane mode when I'm not using it, but I do flick it on every now and then and make sure I haven't missed something important, okay? And especially at night, okay? If you've been around devices all day, the best thing you can do is when you hit that door at night after you've been in an office all day, come home, kick your shoes off, go outside, do grounding, then come in, turn off any device that you can, and live naturally. Read books, take a bath, go outside, walk around, like do things that don't need technology. Or when you're at work, download podcasts, download music, get all that ready on your phone to where it doesn't need Wi-Fi, it doesn't need cellular data. And then at night you can listen to it, or you can watch, YouTube Red has like where you can watch, you can pay a little bit extra to use YouTube, but it actually downloads to your account. And that way you don't have to have Wi-Fi to pull up the video. So let's say there was a documentary you really want to watch, or a podcast. You can download it ahead of time on YouTube Red, and then you can watch it later with no Wi-Fi. So that's what I do if my daughter ever wants to watch like a little animal video or something. I'll take it to the coffee shop and I download it, and then later I can put on her little blue blockers and put her in front of it and she can watch it, and I don't have to worry about it radiating her to pieces. Yes, she's still getting a little bit of it just from the device being on, but it's nothing near what it would be if it was Wi-Fi and no blue blockers, no little swannies. So as much as you can, find a time of day when you can be radiation free, technology free, set that electronic curfew, and give yourself an opportunity to be a human apart from this always in your hand or always being here. Give yourself a chance to see what's on the other side of this computer, what's on the other side of my cell phone, and not just always playing Words with Friends or checking Facebook and things like that. See what's outside of the world that you could be missing, and invite your kids to do that too. If they're in school all day on a tablet or a device, the best thing they can do is come home and it's device-free evening to find anything that you guys want to do that doesn't emit radiation basically, or that isn't an electronic device. Let's play with anything that's just natural and wood, or a beautiful, tree that's outside that they want to climb, something like that, that helps them be natural, be a human, and not just this technologically advanced creature that is slowly deteriorating and more quickly than we should. It might be slow to us looking at it, but it's more quick than we should be deteriorating. So I think that brings me to the end of this, and I hope that you've derived at least one nugget of information that you can take away and go, okay, I'm going to implement at least that strategy. If you do have any questions, comments, I love to answer questions, and I love to hear from you guys about what you're doing to make your desk job a little more healthy and less deteriorating, basically. And so, yeah, thanks for your time and enjoy the day. If you want any official help or anything kind of figuring out your life, figuring out your mitochondria, your health, your nutrition, I do offer 6-week online coaching and also monthly coaching through my Patreon page. So you can check out my website, getfitwithjodelle.com, or my Patreon page is patreon.com/Jodelle. And then you can find me on social media at Twitter is JodelleFit, and also at Get Fit with Jodelle on Instagram. So, but I'm not there very much because, like I'm going to do right now, I'm going outside. Have you dropped an F-bomb lately? Find out how at dropанfbomb.com. And thank you to my proud sponsor of this podcast.